important trait, however, even more than ambition, is the ability to get through obstacles. I'm looking for someone who can jump over obstacles. Because if you're building anything worthwhile for yourself, it's always a series of things that get in your way. And you've got to have that kind of, not only, well, attitude is a big piece of it, but you've got to have, again, the reliance on your ambition, that you want to run hard, no matter what the hell happens, you're going to get there. That's the kind of person I'm always looking for.
So we have, to give you an idea quickly what we do, the men and women here, there are millions of people in America, middle America, that say, I don't have any life insurance, don't have enough life insurance. And then we have more leads than we know what to do with it. We could take this room, 10x the room, and have plenty of leads, which is really cool. When you look at the lessons that you've learned in leadership, knowing that the group we're talking to, what are some of those lessons you think will relate to these men and women out here?
Lessons I've learned in leadership?
Yeah.
As a leader?
Yeah.
Okay, not sales.
No.
Okay,
sorry, I got you thinking sales, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, as a leader. Or you talk both if you want.
Okay. I think I've learned to be inspirational. You need to be inspirational because you want a lot of people to follow you. You don't want to beg them to follow you or to convince them hard to follow you. You want to get around them, get your arms around them, and you want to control them. I know that sounds terrible to control a person, but control their desire to do well for you. I think when I ran my business, and as I run my entrepreneurs today, they are so passionate about wanting to please me, to follow me, whatever I suggest. Sometimes I'm not even suggesting good stuff like jump off the cliff. They're off the cliff, you know. But I think as a leader, you have to get one thing straight in your head. And it took me probably 3 or 4 years when I was a young kid before I really learned it. And what I learned was that you have to work for your people, they don't work for you. I remember taking my initial people and the day when I switched over and thought, holy shit, they're not working for me, they're calling me their boss. And that was the day I decided to do anything in my power to support them in whatever they did. And you know what I got? I got a free ride to the top. They drag you along with themselves. But if you really get the relationship straight, which most people don't, honestly, the boss thinks the people report to him, that is not a great boss, that's not a great leader. They'll never really build an empire until you get people to believe that you're 150% there for them. And I would do anything for my people. And I made, even so far as money goes, I think I was making like $30,000 a year when my best salespeople were making $1 million. Like, well, that's crazy. I saw myself as last in line and only fed when everybody else was fed.
That's amazing. Yeah, give a hand, that's amazing. So, all these men and women have the ability to hire. I mean, get an insurance license is not like getting a real estate license. It's much quicker. Like I went online, it took me a day or two to finish the course. I sent something to the state. I have my license in a week. Done, ready to go. And the new people they bring in, we pay for the course to prep them for the license. So the entrepreneur or the one that wants to be an entrepreneur pays a couple $100 to the state, and then they have a license.
I think I'll become an insurance.
I think you should. I'm going to launch my team. I think everybody.
No, hold it a minute. I'm going to compete with Shawn. Who wants to work for me?
I want to work for you too. So yeah, I'm going to come on Shark Tank and pitch you too. So here, I will. I'm not afraid. I might fail. She might tear me up, but I'll go. So what we're trying to help people do, Barbara, and I'd love your opinion on this from a recruiting standpoint, is if everybody left here and recruited not just people they knew with their social media presence, they have cumulatively millions of followers, what's your best advice to some of the ones that they haven't even started recruiting yet? And there's reasons why. They're afraid that this person, they haven't done enough yet. They're afraid that the person might judge them. They're not the best salesperson. They've never been in business for themselves before. What would be your advice to them if they were working for you?
I think first and foremost, you have to really own that you deserve the success. You might think that everybody feels that way when they're working hard. I have found that's not the case. I think you have to really say, I deserve to be there. I deserve to be the king of the mountain. I deserve to be just as rich as the next guy. I deserve for everybody to just listen to me because I know the most. But then you have to have the work ethic to really match that disposition of yourself. I think I worked probably 10 years in my business doubting myself and having like an old tape in my head that we all accumulate as kids, from our parents, from being unsuccessful in high school, or even grammar school, or a parent who beat the shit out of you. Everybody comes to the table with their stuff, right? And with that stuff comes an old tape or a perception of yourself. I really had that perception of myself for about 10 years that I was not smart just because I couldn't learn to read or write. That's only one kind of smart. You know, I'm not a lot of other smarts. I was always running the tape in my head when I ran into confrontation that you don't have the right to be here. Oh, you should have stayed at the office. You don't really have to meet these people, blah, blah, blah. Justify the failure before it happened. And then one day I just decided to replace that tape, and I said, I'm gonna just practice it for the rest of my life. And my tape was very different. You are fucking amazing, Barbara. Now, did I believe it? No. Did I believe it? Not at all. But I proved it to myself by trying hard. Because my confidence came not from the winnings that I started to accumulate little steps at a time. My confidence came entirely from my belief in myself that I would try harder than anybody else out there. And you get your confidence out there. You don't get the success. You just have to get the confidence knowing you try hard. You'll go back there, back there, back there again. And that's what builds confidence. Most people look at me and say, she's so confident. Every night I'm on Shark Tank, I'm scared to death, you know? But nobody would know it, but I've got the tape that kicks in, helps me out, gets me through the night. So I think self-talk is more than half of your success, and then matching the actions that match the new self-talk you're trying to put out there. That's the other half.
Great answer. So you said something that was interesting. You said control people, not in a bad way, but control people. When I got my insurance license and when I got into real estate, I was in that for 10 years. I was like 1/1 billionth as successful as you. Actually, probably a bigger number than that. But you know, I paid some bills for a while and did okay. I wanted to be controlled. I wanted the man or woman, whoever was running it, I wanted to ask them any questions. I wanted them to tell me, go here, don't go there. I wanted that. And I earned it by asking for it. I think a lot of the people want to be told, until they know what they're doing, what to do, right? But I think a lot of the leaders in here, or aspiring leaders, are struggling with, how do I tell him or her to do these 4 things? Or how do I tell him or her to stop doing these things? How have you taught people, because you bring in a lot of people who are not leaders probably when you invest in their business, and teach them that skill set to help control, in a good way, the people that work with them and for them?
Yeah, control's a bad word, I guess.
I didn't think it was a bad word.
Oh, really?
No,
I
not
don't want
at all.
to control me.
No, I wanted somebody to control what I was going to do wrong. Like, I wanted somebody to go like, if you keep doing that, dude, you're not going to be successful. And then if you don't make enough dials, you won't be. I wanted somebody to control for me, and then once I got good, or I wanted them to like teach me to do that for other people. So whatever word you use, how do you help people supervise, lead, challenge, constructively criticize? How do you teach people to do that?
I did 2 things very regularly, and it was, I thought, very, very successful, still is with all of my entrepreneurs. I try to really analyze what this singular strength is. Most people have 2 or 3 strengths, but most people have 2 or 3 things they're working very hard at that they suck at. So I would really sit down with the individual and try to analyze very intently what their strength was. I just popped in my head, I'll tell you a quick story to demonstrate that. I had a woman who was married to a wealthy man, a real socialite in New York. When I was at a tattered company, we had no socialites. And she couldn't sell. She was beautiful, great personality. In my estimation, she had a sales personality, or I wouldn't have hired her. I finally had to sit down and fire her after 8 months of no sales, but I decided I'm just gonna really analyze what she's good at. You know what she was good at? Meeting people and people liking her. She was not aggressive. She was charming, she was beautiful. So I said to her, listen, I don't want you to sell ever again. She was self-conscious about pushing herself on her friends. Oh, you want an apartment? I have a listing. That wasn't her style at all, like most of my salespeople. So I told her, do nothing but go out for lunches with as many rich people as you can. Keep a scorecard, let me know how many go. What do you think happened? She started selling. She didn't have the pressure because I was able to identify her strength. once you identify someone's strength, you can build a whole career about it. You don't have to be good at everything.
Right.
I'm good at marketing, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at people, hiring the right people, that's what I'm good at. And that's about it. You know, I don't have math. I don't have so much, but I know what I'm good at, and that's what I focus on. And then the second step, I think, I know this is a long answer, I'm sorry about that, Shawn. And then the second step that I am very focused on is celebrating any little success, not necessarily a sale, but the little thing you do, the little thing, make them a star, broadcast them. You know what they did? I commend them, and celebrate the failures too, because what I'm really trying to do is bring out the effort. If people put the effort forward more intensely and more frequently, my volume goes up on my sales ability, my company grows. And that's what I did. Can I tell one story?
You can do actually anything you want.
Oh. It's an interesting story on leadership. I was from New Jersey, I had no contacts. We were like the low price, blue collar company in town. We had maybe 20 people at that point, and my competitors had, at that point, the largest companies in New York were like 300 strong. But to me, that was a monster, you know? And I wanted to get high price listings. I was tired of selling that cheap ass shit that the commissions were selling. So one day in a Monday meeting, I stood on my little box. I held up a gold ribbon, a horse ribbon that they get for race horses. You know what they look like, round with a big sash. And I held it up, and I had printed in gold on the gold ribbon $1 million. And I said, whoever makes $1 million deal, a listing, a sale, gets this ribbon. And people got hysterical. They laughed in my face because we were making an average sale of maybe $250 at the time. But one young salesman in the group listened, and he took it seriously. And the next week, I announced, first gold ribbon goes to Ron Rossi, who brought in the Guggenheim Mansion for $6 million. People hated Ron. They hated his guts. My top seller, my next top seller, they hated him. What do you think happened to my company? I became a high-priced firm. Within 2 years, you were nobody at the corporate group. If you couldn't have lots of gold ribbons on your pinafore, like right before your desk, what I always had, the big, I forget what it's called now. Well, your poster board, yeah. So my company that was blue collar turned into a white collar firm. And I was able to recruit white-collar people into there to make big sales, well-educated people I had no right to have. But it was all because I recognized that there's jealousy. I recognized that people had to be recognized for stellar, and I made them reach. And so that's an interesting story, I think, on leadership. And I learned that lesson, and I use recognition for the rest of my life. Recognition is as powerful as money when it comes to salespeople. Recognition is powerful.
Amen. Great answer. Thank you for that. All right, so one of the things that I work on it every day is when we meet somebody, is figuring out what characteristics should we know that we can't affect. Like if he or she has this, I may never be able to get anywhere with them. They may not be successful, no matter how good or how hard I try. Because what a lot of folks that we work with struggle is I always tell people, if you're not a little kid and you jump in the water and you can't swim, I'm probably gonna call 911. Because if I jump in with some guy and he yanks me in the face, and we could both drown, right? And people can get frustrated when they're working with the wrong person, meaning they can't get any kind of result. What are one or two things you see in somebody that makes you go, I just can't work with you right now?
Well, my business was a little different than yours in one way, in that urgency was very important. I don't know if that plays a part. I would think it does in business.
It's a huge part of our business.
Okay. So I taught my salespeople, you don't work with your customers based on whether they want $1 million home or a $100,000 home, but there's only one question that was the most important question: when do you need it for? If somebody needed a place fast, that became a priority, and I told them, drop the $1 million people who are never going to buy anything anyway, work with this 450 person because they need it by 3 months when the kids go back to school. So I use that as a barometer of need. I also taught my people, if you don't like that person, drop them. You work with them, you don't like them, drop them because they don't like you either. It's a two-way street. working with the right people, not to be so selective that you wind up not working with anybody, but working with someone who has urgency, a need, a story, and then working with someone that you like, you have a really good chance of selling. But let me tell you one other thing that happened. 5-6 years into the firm, I did focus groups, which sophisticated companies do, not real estate companies, like big ad agencies usually do them. I got people who bought apartments to come into my office behind a blind screen and tell me why they chose my agent, because I figured I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna teach everybody that secret. So I sat there for 2 days and listened to people why they chose the agent, and I learned not a damn thing. And it was expensive, well beyond my budget to pay for this thing. But guess what I did learn? I learned that people picked agents like themselves. You know, it was like, I got so good after a while that one seller or buyer would walk in, and before they even opened their mouth, I would say, they're working with Ann Sneed. I know it. And they were working with Ann Sneed. So the matchmaking is very important for the potential of sales. I don't think you could not relate to a salesman in any way and want to give them a sale. They really have to like you. And familiarity and likeness makes people like you. Yeah. I don't know if it's the same in your business, but it was certainly true in mine.
No, it's definitely true in our business. I think we deal with the clients and with the people we recruit. And obviously, based on your story, just a quick video, you have a lot of resilience. How did you develop that? How was that created?
You know, I had an advantage, because when I was in school, I was a dumb kid and people made fun of me. So when you're always hiding every day, and Sister Stella Marie, the goddamn nun from hell, so you're always stupid. What happens to you is you go for cover, you know, you go undercover as a kid, because it's so harsh for a child to be judged by how well you read and do math. It's not fair at all. But it happened. And so I was always running for cover. But I always came back to school the next day because I had to. So I had the advantage of having that hardship early, and there's all different kinds of hardship you can have. But what you get out of the hardship is you get resilience if you keep coming back. You know? One other story I'll tell you, on Shark Tank, when I was hired to do Shark Tank, they sent me a contract after a quick conversation, and they check out your financials to make sure you have the money to invest. And then they sent me a contract. I did what I always do with all contracts. I don't read them, I just sign them when I want something. Why create your own obstacles? Just sign the damn thing, don't worry about it. I sent the contract right back, and 4 days later they called and said, we've decided on another woman. No, we only have a seat for one woman, and we decided on another woman. I said, that can't be, I already signed the contract. They said, we didn't sign the contract.
Right.
And so I sat there, and thank God I had 40 years in business to be resilient. I sat there really pissed, embarrassed. I told my friends, I'm going to Hollywood. I went to Bergdorf Goodman's and bought real leather suitcases. I bought signing outfits to give my autograph to people. Now, I had this whole tape going in my head. I could see it in Hollywood as clear as I saw myself as the Queen of New York real estate the day I opened my doors. I saw it, I could taste it. I saw it in full color. I knew I would get there. And I felt the same way about Shark Tank. And I was rejected. So after I felt sorry for myself for about a minute, I wrote an email to Mark Burnett, who's the biggest producer in Hollywood, which I didn't even know how big he was then. And I said, I understand you've asked another girl to dance instead of me, and I consider your rejection a lucky charm. Everything in my life has happened after a bad rejection. When Sister Stella Marie said I'd never learned to read or write, she was wrong. I read and write today. When the Old Boy Network said I'd never ever compete with them and take some of their riches, I'm their #1 rival. When Donald Trump said I'd never see a penny of the $4 million commission he owed me, I sued him in federal court and won that money. And I repeat, I see your rejection as a lucky charm. I think you should invite both women out to compete for that one lone female seat and let the better girl win. When he invited me out, we both competed for the seat. And was I happy that first day on Shark Tank when they took that magnetic star off my competitors, you know, trailer, they put a magnetic star with your name on it and they left Barbara on my trailer.
Yeah!
You know, I think I would feel sorry for that other woman who worked her ass off to try to get the spot. I was like, fuck her!
I have a lot of attorneys for all litigation. But how did you develop, and then how did you teach, like, the balance and managing your time? Because a lot of our folks, or everybody, they have all kinds of stuff in life, and I was, like, my daughter's here somewhere, and so I was, early on, I don't know if I balanced, and I was just like, kind of like you, like, I'm gonna smoke everybody, I'm gonna go to work, so I don't really know that I was great at answering it. What is your, how did you manage yours and balance yours, and how do you instruct people to do the same for themselves?
Honestly, I'm not so sure I'm the best model of balanced time. I half believe in it, and I half don't believe in it, because I'm always overworked, and I'm always stressed, and I always can't get everything done. So obviously I'm not that good at it, but I am good at one thing. I chunk my time. I have business, and I have personal, and I have done that my whole life. When I'm at home with my kids, nobody would dare call me or want something from me. I am hyper-focused on my husband and my kids, even when my husband's driving me crazy and I'd rather take the business call. I'm hyper-focused there. When I'm at work, nobody in my family, even my kids, wouldn't dare call me at work. They understood the rules, okay? They could be dying, I'd let them call me. You know, the school nurse can call me, kind of thing. When my husband wanted to get through to me, he knew he couldn't call me for anything. He would pretend he was a New York Times reporter disguised as voice. With a good sense of humor, and I'd accidentally pick up the phone. Hello, is this you, Bill? So chunking your time, I think, is very important. One, for me, anyway, it's helped me tremendously. The phone goes away, and it's so draining. It's like the rabbit hole that pulls you into it, pulls you into it. My phone is too far for me to look at. You know, I just am too habit-forming for that phone. The other thing I think I do very well is know what my priorities are. I never leave the office without a to-do list, which I think most people have to-do lists, but I go a step further. When I come in the morning, I rate my to-do list, A, B's, and C's. And A's are the things that directly lead to sales, the things that typically I don't want to do, the things that are my favorite things, and I do them first. I would love to write the thank you letters and just charm people and do the things I like to do, but instead I make the call I don't want to make, like asking someone for a favor. Very hard for me to ask someone for a favor. Persisting with someone who said they'd call me back and they never did. Very hard for me to be that person, like, hey, have you given any thought? You know, those used to be the things that waited till the end of the day and usually made the to-do list the following day. But I created a habit for myself, like, just get it over with, like burping a goddamn baby. Just do the A's right up front, you know? And what I have found with that is very often my B's and C's aren't done, but who gives a shit? You know, they'll wait till the next day. And then I make my next to-do list and I do it again and again and again. Those are the only two things that I've learned that work for me. I'm sure there's many more things out there, but these are the two that I use.
Great, thank you. So when you brought up the real estate, you know, you had clients come in, you realized we work with people that are like that, right? You went through all that. Somebody asked me a couple months ago, we put all the training together, what is the biggest common denominator between the men and women that are killing it here? And we do, just to give you an idea, Barbara, from a competition standpoint, we have all these insurance carriers to work with. We're number one with every insurance carrier. Like the only competitor we have, if we don't work with you, like, we don't try, but everyone we work with, and we'll do $1 billion in sales in 24. We did over $700 million in 23, and our next alleged, pretend, fake competitor doesn't do $100 million. So nobody's competing, we're competing with ourselves. Okay? Just give you some concept. How important is mindset, and what have you seen works for people to help develop a better mindset?
You know, mindset is almost everything. I mean, would I have been successful if I didn't see myself as looking at New York Reels? I'm sure I would have been. That was my business plan, my roadmap. You know, I'm not a big believer in business plans, honestly, because the minute you get them out there, they don't work. You know, you find reality hits you. But have a vision of who you are determined to be and have the ambition to actually get there. That works. That works because you find the answers to fill in the picture that you have. You match it, you know, and I was very conscious that I was matching that picture. I bought the coat with my first check because I saw that lady had a fancy coat. Then I filled in this, then I filled in that, and I did it for my whole career. I filled in also that I would have a baby after 7 years of trying, and I built in my office a crib and whole baby area, and I couldn't get pregnant. But I said, I'm putting that goddamn crib in that office no matter what. But believe me, I think that had more to do with me getting pregnant than anything else. I mean, I'm not suggesting trickery. In vitro helped. Okay. But you know what I have found? I have found very much that what separates all the great salespeople I've worked with, and they were making at the time I sold the business, my best salespeople were making $7 or $8 million a year, and the average income of everybody in the company was probably a little bit more than $200,000. So you ask yourself, what's the difference between $200,000 and $8 million a year? Like, what is it? I found over the years I studied that, and with my entrepreneurs, with my salespeople, the only difference is they all take the hit, because that's what sales are. It's a rejection game. People are beating you up, beating the shit out of you all the time, right? But the great ones took less time feeling sorry for themselves. I swear to God, that's the only thing I found. They didn't take it personally, and they didn't feel sorry for themselves. I felt sorry for myself too, like when Mark Burnett called, but how much should I give myself? 2 minutes to feel sorry for myself. And then I got to write an email. By the way, on that story, let me just finish that. My boss at Shark Tank, my producer, came up to me after 6 months and said, do you know we hired almost 80 sharks for the 5 seats and we rejected 75 of them, they all signed contracts? I was like, that's not fair. He said, well, what you would find interesting is you were the only one who protested. Woo! Now picture, these are capable people. They didn't just invite anyone to be on Shark Tank as a judge. They were successful people. But when they got rejected, I can't believe they didn't come back, right? Just didn't come back. But great salespeople always come back. They take that rejection and get back up. Can I tell you one more story?
Barbara, it's yours.
Questions are supposed to be answered short. My number one salesperson, still the number one salesperson in New York City, although I no longer own the firm, is Carrie Chiang. Carrie Chiang was my best salespeople because she had a corner on Taiwan and Hong Kong. If somebody was moving in from Taiwan or Hong Kong, Carrie had the sale. She would kill her competition. I loved her for it. Like, let me help you cut their throat. But I forget exactly what happened in Hong Kong. The stock market fell or something was devastating. And I was watching the news with my husband that night. I said, holy shit, Carrie's going to lose her business. This is our source of business. I called Carrie right away to try to help her, calm her down. I couldn't reach her. I couldn't reach her the next morning. Couldn't reach her. She has 3 cell phones. Couldn't reach her the next day. Couldn't reach her. Right before I'm leaving work, I'm really thinking Carrie committed Carrie. And she walks into the office disheveled, her makeup not good, and she's very prim and proper. She's always done up. And I said, where have you been? She said, she said, I can do a Chinese accent. I know so little. Okay, I got in trouble how to speak once for doing Chinese and all that. Here comes Chinese. Baba. I up all night, I haven't slept. What, Carrie, please, we could figure this out. We could work something out. Don't you panic about this. You know, this is my big producer. I want to make her happy. And she said, oh, good. I got 140 listings. She talked all her people that she had sold apartments to sell them. And you know what she did? She went out and hired a Japanese woman to work for her, spoke the language, because the Japanese were the new group in town buying real estate. Wow. That's a story. I took her and I kissed her right on her lips. And she said, what you doing, Mama? That, to me, was poetry in motion. I looked at her with such love in my eyes, like, you are incredible. Right? She didn't miss a beat. Boom, on to the next. That's not feeling sorry for yourself. It was incredible. I still love to tell that story because I still adore her. You know, she calls me every single year and asks me the same question. You know how much money I make? She wants the recognition from me, her old boss, 20 years from now, 20 years later. And And I have to guess how much money you made. You made 7 million, 7.5? I always guess low. I'm at 12,500,000.
All right. So the team members, what I think a lot of the stuff you're talking about, the mindset, the resilience, you know, what's your leadership qualities. A lot of folks, when they have a team member that's not successful, it impacts them, you know, and obviously. So from your perspective, you've had a lot of team members, a lot of employees, a lot of people you've invested in their businesses. What has been something, what are some things you've done to handle a situation where the team member or team members aren't successful?
You always have that. You know, I'm a good hirer, and I always hire happy people as a baseline, because I find happy people so better. I really do. But always you have someone who's not producing, or a number of people not producing. I think the most important question to ask as a leader is, are they capable? In your opinion, do they have the capacity?
That's me now.
You know, if they can't talk, they can't sell, right? Right. You just say, do they have the capacity? You really have to ask yourself that question. And when you think they have the capacity, and 2 out of 3 times you think they do, you have to ask yourself, how can I get around them? How can I get on their back? How can I push them forward? Because that was the MO I had in my office. I would hire someone and say, your job is to sell 1 apartment within 3 months. If you don't, we can't keep you because we can't afford the overhead. I was honest. 1 apartment in 3 months, clarity, leadership, clarity of expectation. Then they get out of the gate. They usually fire themselves after 3 months. I didn't have to fire them. But for that person that I thought, they're struggling and they have the potential, I would just decide, what do you need? How can I get behind you? How can I push you? How can I train you better? How could you? And then we had managers, and I taught this ethic. What?
Ethics?
No, you're on.
Okay. I was trying.
Take another guess. Okay. I taught them how to do it. We'll skip the word in this case.
Got it.
Okay. But you would have to wrap yourself around the person and make sure they had everything you could possibly give them for another month or 2, or sometimes I extended to 3 months to see them successful. And if not, I fired them. But I think the more important people to fire, honestly, are the people that take your team down. And it's not usually the person who can't produce. Right. It's the complainer. Right.
There's a difference.
Your competition, some complainer in the midst.
Down there.
Because when you have 1 complainer, I think of them as a thief in the night that takes the money out of your pocket. It sucks the energy of the sales team down. So I used to love Fridays because I would fire all my complainers on Friday. And very often, a great salesperson can also be a son of a bitch. Impossible to live with. And I finally realized that whenever I had the courage to even hire a big producer who was a complainer, God took care of me, sent me a new person right in the door within a week. I remember when I fired, I won't say her name, in case she's now selling her life insurance.
She's not here. You can say her. She's here, we'll fire her. No problem. Today's Friday. You said it.
Yeah. And that's just like on
I remember
Facebook.
when I fired this unnamed lady in the bank. I want to be sued. I said to her, you're out of here. She said, you can't fire me. I had maybe 20 people at the time, and she was producing like 70% of my income. I shook. You're out of here. And why did I fire her? Not because I thought it was bad for the team. Honest to God, I wasn't that bright then. She was bad for me. Right. I felt I would fire her and maybe not sell the company. I was thinking about selling the company, doing a new career, but she drained me of my energy, and she walked out the door furious, and you could feel the whole company relax. It was like breathing out. And the next day literally the next day I had Norma Hirsch walk in, who became my number 2 star salesman within 2 months. God just took care of me, you know, because I did the right thing. I just think getting rid of bad people is protecting your good people. That's the way it is. In my case, I'll protect them. I'll protect them from all that negativity. That's the way it goes. I don't even know if I answered your question.
You definitely did. I got lost too, but you definitely answered the question. It was a good story. You've been very honest about failures in life and things you've gone through. And obviously you talked about your resilience. What have you specifically learned from your failures in life? Like you've taken away, you've learned.
I've learned that every failure, if you could just hang in the game, is an upside to it. You don't see it when you're in your misery zone and feeling badly and thinking, is it worth it, and self-questioning. But every time you have a hard hit, there's an equally good hit that's waiting for you. I can give you story after story of what was responsible for building my business. I remember I came up with a great idea, homes on tape, put all the apartments on videotape long before the internet, and let just the customers take the tape and look at them at home. I put all my sales agents on the tape, so it was a great idea. It was efficient. There are too many apartments now in New York for people to look at, so I put them all on tape. Everybody loved it. It was a dismal failure because my salespeople, which I didn't know, didn't want to give out the tape. They're afraid their customer might go to another salesperson who was on the tape too. Of course, it made sense when I realized it, but I was kind of ready to cry in my soup. I was at a meal with my husband, who was a Navy officer, like on the weekends, that's a name for it. And he was in South Korea playing war games. And he came home, he said, wow, the war games, we bombed the North Koreans, blah, blah. It's fake, that's what they do with our tax dollars. And he tells me the story. And he's really excited. He said, this time it was real. We played it on this new government thing called the internet. And I didn't know what the internet was. He explained what it was in real time. The next day I took all my tapes and registered CORCORAN.com URL, and I was the first one on the internet in the real estate business because I had a lucky dinner with my husband. Do you know within that first week, boom, boom, we had 2 sales to 2 people for out of England. We didn't have anybody from outside the United States. 2 out of England, boom, boom, and I knew I had stepped in the best thing that was ever going to hit real estate, ever. And you know what I did? I turned around and I registered all my competitors' URLs because I knew they didn't even know about it.
Yep. Amen.
I hated those competitors, let me tell you. I hated every one of them. They're probably nice people and stuff, but I hated them. And they had to call and ask me for the URL back because it was legal. I loved it. Yes, you can have your URL. No, you can't have your URL.
So, you do a really amazing job. You ever seen the movie 8 Mile with Eminem?
No, but I like
You should watch the movie. You'd love it. And let me explain. The very end of the movie, I'm
gonna ruin it.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna give you something that's not gonna ruin it. But what and if you've seen the clip, he does a really good job of saying, like, here's the things that are pretty screwed up about me. Like, I don't pretend to remotely be perfect. You have to watch the movie, I don't screw it up for you. But like, and I always tell people, like you were joking backstage, they're like, do you want something to drink on stage? And you were like, yeah. What'd you want? Vodka what?
Vodka and tonic.
Vodka and tonic. And then she said, give mine to him. And I said, no, because when I start drinking, they'll have to quit. Because that's the commitment we have to have. That'll be good. We have other people in charge. You don't have to quit. Like, don't listen to me if I start drinking again. And you have this really unique ability where I think it draws, I've been watching the crowd, it draws people in because you've had all this success. I mean, you have. Like, you walk around. People,
not always, honey bun.
What's that?
Not always.
Yeah, I know. Not always. I know that part. But you have this unique ability of sharing things about you without any, like, whether you're insecure about certain things or not. And a big part of our sales in life insurance, like I was really, really good at selling life insurance because I was like, here's my deal. And I had no problem sharing. Like, if you was a single mom, I had no problem talking about what it was like for my mom, working 3 jobs, busting her ass. That was easy. I had no problem saying, if they were like, do you want a beer? Because they'd ask me if I wanted, it would be night. And they'd be like, you want a drink? And I'd be like, how many do you have? And they'd be like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna need at least 30 of those. And I'm gonna need some hard alcohol and you all have cocaine.
Oh.
And they would look, and I was serious about all of them. That was the progression. You know what I mean? Beer, lead, hard alcohol, cocaine. But it was relatable. And I was serious, it wasn't lying, like it was true. How have you been able, I'm sure you have, how have you taught other people that they don't have to be perfect? That it's okay to have I'm great at this, I'm great at marketing, but I'm not great at these other things over here. How have you taught other people to be more vulnerable, I guess, and open about their strengths and their weaknesses? I guess more importantly, their weaknesses.
I don't think it's about teaching someone to put themselves out and be more vulnerable, because that's a tall order. But a much easier way of saying it, or for people to do it, is be yourself.
Right.
You know, I think that everybody is so much smarter than they're given credit for. If I act like not myself, you're gonna feel it. You might not put a label on it, but you're gonna feel it, you know? I act myself, and I'm not apologizing. You're gonna get trust. You're gonna trust me. And if you're thinking about whatever you sell, what's the basis of everything? It's whether they trust you. I don't care how bad or how good your sales pitch is, it's no pitch at all. It's whether they trust you. And the easiest way to bring in trust for you with everybody is to just be yourself. You know, I had a woman working for me, my second top salespeople, so fucking pretentious. Her name, I have to give you her name and do an imitation or you wouldn't get it. I'm Shawn. I was the first woman to graduate from Harvard Business School. I know, Sharon, you told me 10 times. She was so pretentious, but that was her upbringing. And I realized that wasn't fake. That was really her. She had a Bentley car. She put sold one on the license plate. She had magazines about her life story in the back seat, so the customer would be forced to kind of read it in the back seat of her Bentley. She had a driver to pretend that she was getting a lot of phone calls at the front. She had a routine, and he would constantly sit there and say, Mrs. Palmer's not available, Mrs. Palmer's not available. While the customer's in the back seat, it was such an effective thing. She had Grey Poupon mustard jars in a box, a leather box, and she would tap on her window, roll it down, and tap on another wealthy person's car who was in the back seat. Like if it wasn't a Bentley, it was a Mercedes, and she would hand them a mustard jar with her card on top. Everything. You probably don't know that old commercial. It was appropriate at the time.
I do.
Did you? Remember?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even remember it now, but it was so effective. They would laugh, and she would get customers. She'd clean up in Manhattan's wealthy set by just extending her brand. But this is why everybody bought into Sharon. She really was pretentious. Everything about her poofed hair, her gaudy clothes, the dog she carried, the driver, it all matched. It was her. It was an extension of her. And so she became a phenomenal success by being herself. If she tried to downplay herself and say, I'm just like you, it wouldn't have worked. She wasn't like anybody. She was the only woman who graduated from Harvard Business School. So I think whatever your genuine thing is, it's the easiest way to relate to people. If you just let it go and say, my job's just got easier, I just have to be myself. You know, it's a lot less effort to be yourself than to try to be something else.
Exactly.
Great answer. Great answer. Somebody told me a long time ago, business, because it's when I was getting ready to go to college, my mentor was in real estate. He played professional baseball. He was just the hardest core motherfucking person I ever met in my entire life, which I loved. He was an animal. And he said to me, in business, if you find yourself thinking too much, stop. You'll overcomplicate it, you know? And then also he said something which I definitely can't share, but he basically was saying to me in so many words was, don't worship these other people. Kind of to your point, you're a lot smarter than you think you are. You can accomplish a lot more than you think you can. On Shark Tank, what has been who surprised you the most? Like a company you've invested in, the people you've invested in, is there one investment you're like, I never knew they would be this good?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked it, because I love to talk about them. I had two crazy guys come in on the set one day. They weren't dressed well. They had oversized sweatshirts on, hoodies, made out of some cheap cloth that had a shine to it. It wasn't attractive. And a big pocket on the front. And they started pitching their deal, and they said, this was going to be the sweatshirt of America. They're going to sell 1 million of them in the first week. But they believed it. I could tell they believed it. One was unemployed, one was a camera handler in LA, and they never had really a successful job. But were they fun? They sang a jingle, they horsed around, they wore the thing. They had made the outfit themselves. They didn't know what it was going to cost to make, actually, what they would sell it for, where they would sell it, how to get into a store. They had none of that. We asked them the typical Shark Tank questions. It was clear they were a zero, and everybody went out. But they were only asking $50,000. So I said, I'll give you $50,000, but I want a third of the business. They said, you got it, honey. And why did I give them that? Because I thought it's only $50,000 and they're nice guys. And I'd love to have a beer with them sometime because they're a lot of fun. They sold $480 million in their product in 3 years. What did they have? I was scratching my head all the time. They didn't know business. They didn't run a good shop. It was just a runaway success. It was during COVID. It was a runaway success. It took off. What they had is a belief. They said it on the show. We'll sell $1 million worth of these products in 3 months, and they did. It was just they believed that they were going to do it. So, and also, I know what the one brother said, his mother had always said to him, all these rich people, why not you? When he would see this, he'd say, why not you? Why not you? And he decided it was going to be him, and he did it. So, that was Comfy. The name of that business is Comfy.
Comfy. What is, now, I watch the show a lot, because I just really, when I started watching it, I was like, this is like really freaking cool. So I watched a lot of it. Is it really competitive?
It's competitive when we're filming. When Mr. Wonderful takes a deal from me, I hate him. It's competitive, all right? When Mark takes a deal from me, I'm not so upset because I figure he's a billionaire and he paid more that I couldn't afford anyway, so I let it go. But we're all very competitive during this show, but the minute we have a drink together at night, we're really we're like siblings. You know, we always have a dysfunctional family. Mark Cuban is definitely the big brother. And of course, Robert is like the younger brother trying to be the big brother. He adores Mark. He buys a bigger plane than Mark so he can go compete. You know, he's like, Mark is so needy. And then Damon is, of course, everybody's favorite younger brother. They just love him. Lori is like, let's play nice. No need to argue while she steals your toys. She's full of shit. Then who did I leave out? I guess but it's like a dysfunctional family. We all know each other, but we learn from each other. And you know who you want to do a deal with, who you don't want to do a deal with. And it's almost like, I've never been in the Army, because I just never have. It's almost like Army guys who have been in the ditch together, have a camaraderie together. And that's kind of like what we have on Shark Tank.
Love it.
Yeah.
When you look at, because some of those folks, when I listen to their stories, I mean, this is it. Like, they've tried a lot of different, this like, that you, I mean, as long as, and I'm sure they are, like, it's real and you can hear it and you can see it from a business standpoint. Once you get a hold of, let's take Comfy or whomever else, what is the very first thing you're doing with any of these businesses you invest in? Like, the very first thing, because you've had a lot of them that have been very successful. But what's been one of the most successful things you've done as soon as, hey, you agreed, I did it, we did everything we're supposed to do, now we're in business together. What is the first step you take when it's been so successful?
I invite them to New York to sit down with me and tell me what problems they're having. So that's really what they need help with. They've got the money from me, now it's where are you having a problem? And they tell me their problems, and I make suggestions. And I'm also looking to build a relationship with them right away, right? So I give them suggestions, and interesting, I know right after that meeting who's gonna win and who's gonna lose. Because the people who are taking careful notes of everything I say, they never make money. I don't know why, it's just a weird thing that happens. The people who listen to what I have to say, don't take any notes, and then do exactly as they please, they're the entrepreneurs. They go out and they make a killing. Because the nature of the entrepreneur is to listen, but do their own thing. Right. That's the way it is. Just like I was, just like you are, if you're a top salesperson, you know what's good for you, you do your own thing. So the note-taking is my giveaway. I keep in my office all my entrepreneurs in picture frames the minute the deal is signed. I get them up on the wall in a picture frame, all over my office. And the minute they take notes after they leave, I go over and I turn them upside down. And you know why I do that? To remind myself, I can't remember everybody's names. Like when they're calling, I want to know who I should spend time with, real time with, and who I should just give lip service to. Because those people are upside down. The minute the shit hits the fan, what they do is they blame it on somebody else. They play a victim. Like, I couldn't get the patent, but the guy promised me I'd get the patent. Blaming the guy, the attorney they hired, you know. I couldn't get the right model. They delivered the goods. There was this wrong with them. That guy's a bad guy. I didn't get a new guy. You know, he told me, he swore to me that was going to be fixed, and I'm blaming the next guy, victim. And I know the second they play victim, they're not going to make it. Because you can't. When you play victim in any way, you're giving your power away. It's the only power you have is to be in control of yourself and what you're going to do with your life. Why would you dare? You might lend it to someone, but you don't give it away by playing victim. So that's how I separate the men from the boys, the girls from the women. Just based on that first interview, and thank God I do, otherwise I would never have the time to work with only entrepreneurs, so I work with the good ones, and they're worth working with. They're very much worth working with, because they are determined to make their dream come true, and I feel like I'm part of that. And you know what's great about that show, if I could add, you know, when you're building a business, you're building your trade up, sometimes not sometimes, I think always, the beginning is what you remember the most when you get older and start getting really good at your trade. And I get to live the beginning of these businesses over and over and over again, like Groundhog Day, you know? I get to be part of the most exciting part, launching them, getting them off the ground. So I'm getting to like live the most exciting part of building any business, which I always think is the early days, not when you've accomplished your goal. Even though you think that would be the greatest day, it wasn't for me. It was how I molded people and who got on my side and who carried me up, and all those juicy little stories you remember. The time I took the girls out and bought them underwear at Barney's. The time I had a pajama party and had them take off their pajamas. You know, whatever, all those antics you do when the business is young, that once you get very big and powerful, you have the committees, the layers, and the inability to do the things the way you used to. So I get the slice of the pie that's the juiciest.
That's a great answer. So we're getting to time to wrap up here. There's a lot. It's funny. First of all, you should work with us. I'm just saying you can hire the world back. So you can do nothing. I'm just saying you should do that. We'll talk about that after we're done here. But on my team, he says, a lot of what you talk about, Barbara, is so intertwined, because you talk about, you know, when you're talking about the entrepreneurs, or the pictures, we're trying to do the same thing. We tend to like draw the team out and look at it and figure out like, but I think a lot of the folks we have here, they don't do that. The phone rings. You know, I had a long time ago, I watched a guy who was very successful. You know, it was at a meeting, and he's done really well, and I liked him. And and he answered the phone, he said, "What's up?" And so I was like, "Hey man, I got a question for you. Do you always answer the phone like that?" And he said, "Yes." And so why? He goes, "Because I just want to know what's up. Like let's go now. And the people that communicate with me quickly, I'm good with them. Like, they tell me what's up. Hey, I called you because of this and this and this." And the ones that are like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, I'm not mad at you, but like, I gotta move. I mean, you talk about your husband, your kids, because when you're in business, you're in business, right? When you're in the business, you're in the business. If you were, all these people were working with you, they all walked in, this is back in the CORCORAN days, and before you went to Shark Tank, went to Hollywood and became uber famous, and you're running your sales organization, and they were leaving the event today and it was yours. What is one thing you would say to them as they leave the event?
I hate when people ask me one thing.
Okay, 85 things. Yes.
I would say that you have one life, right? Whatever you dream it to be, why wouldn't you dream big?
Right.
Why would you live a life that's mediocre? Why would you? Because the main reason why people lead mediocre lives and don't accomplish this, they don't think they can. I think you have to just remember that God is equal. Everybody's got an equal opportunity to be the very best version of who they are. And so I would challenge myself, really, if you think you're not going to get to where you want to go, do you really want it? If you don't want it, get the hell out of it. You should be doing something else and chasing some real other dream. Okay, but if you're in it, why not give it your all and see how far you can go? It's such a satisfaction in accomplishing and standing at the top and going, I did it. I did it. And so that's what I would say.
Great answer. this is not going to ruin the movie for you either, but it is one of my favorite movies, as you can tell. So the way they rap, the way they decide or judge these rap battles is by the audience, not by the person up there that's emceeing the whole thing, the audience. So we're going to do a Shark Tank 8 Mile, is what we're going to do. So basically what we're going to do is, we can't do all three at the same time, because we've had you, Kevin, and Damon, okay? I can. It's not me, it's them. I can do that. Am I not allowed to do that?
But you're the troublemaker here.
I'm not a troublemaker. You want me not to do it? You want me not to do it? Thank you, I was going to do it anyway. So, just to be honest, I'm going to lie to you. So, alright. So, the first one, if you think out of the three of them, Kevin O'Leary was the best, clap. Oh my, no, seriously. Wow. Hey, Barbara, I'm going. It's my show. It's my show.
Let me get my phone. I have to record.
We got recording the whole thing. We're going to send it to me. We believe we're recording everything that's going on today. Everything, Barbara. Alright, if you think Damon was the best, clap, cheer. Perfect. Cool. Damon was great. Alright, if you think Barbara was the best, cheer. That's what happened. You were amazing. You spoke life to people, and the business tips are something we can take and actually use. So appreciate you, Barbara. Thank you very much.